Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today I'm joined by Mamata Misra. She is a certified MBSR teacher. You want to wave to everybody? They're in these cameras. Where are you from?
I was born and raised in India,
Where in India?
in the eastern part of India, in a state named Odisha.
Orissa.
Yeah. And
Was it a big city or a small town?
it was the biggest town in that state.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's a small town if you want to compare in today's standards.
Yeah.
And I lived in India until I married.
Until you married.
Yeah. And then I came to US.
What was your childhood like?
I grew up in a family with, I have a brother and two other sisters. So we were four of us,
Mm-hmm.
and parents, and a middle class family. My father was also an educationist. He was taught in a college and then later did administrative work
Mm-hmm.
as the principal of a college. And then he was dean, I think, at some point, and a vice chancellor at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, um, that
Your
was my mom uh, was very loving and very strict.
Was she stay-at-home mom? Or
She
did she
was a
work?
no, she didn't work. She only had um, maybe a year of college,
Okay.
not more than that. She married quite young.
You said two things that sometimes are in opposition. You said she was very loving, and then you said she was
Very
strict.
strict.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very strict.
She
How did those work together?
because there were rules. There were rules, and we obeyed the rules.
You had to obey the rules.
Yeah, I mean that was a different time. Nobody questioned.
Is this when you'd get hit by a sandal or something if you didn't obey the rules?
My parents never disciplined us.
Never
Never
disciplined.
physically disciplined us.
Okay.
Never.
I interviewed Pratim, a gentleman who we talked about Tantra,
Hmm.
and he was from India, and he said he got slapped a lot growing up.
It just depends on the people.
But you guys didn't.
Never, never.
Well, how did you get disciplined? How?
So my mother always made us see the consequence of our actions. She was very good at that. So, um, but there were things we were supposed to do. We all had our chores very wisely distributed. Like I was always a slow eater. I would be the last one to finish my meals. So I had to clean up, you know, um, clean the table, take do the dishes, all that I had to do. My sister was a late riser. She had to make the beds. So it was all very logically divided and we didn't question it. It made sense to us.
Yeah.
And we played a lot of games in the family. And my mother was somewhat religious. My father wasn't that much religious. My father had a reputation for being very honest,
Mm.
and his students respected him a lot. So I would say I was very lucky to grow up in the family that I grew up in. Um, and they instilled some good values in me. My
Mhm.
parents did. But then I had a sheltered life. I lived at home. I'd never left home. And then I married, and I came to US.
How old were you?
I was 22.
22. You were confused. you don't remember?
Yeah, I mean,
Or you think
yeah,
it's old
something
or
like
young, or
that.
what was the face?
22.
Um,
It's kind of young, I think.
you think that's young?
Yeah, I mean, I think I grew up maybe 10 years in my first 2 years here.
Was it an arranged marriage?
It was,
Okay.
yeah.
So had you ever met your
I had
husband?
met him, and the families knew each other. Uh, my grand, uh, my husband's father was a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather, maternal grandfather, was a judge.
Mm-hmm.
So they were in the same legal business.
Did you like the guy? Did you like your
I
husband
did,
before
I
you married
did,
him? You
I
did.
did. Yeah, I did. We talked for a little bit, and
For a little bit.
yeah, I mean like an hour or so.
And then you got married.
Yeah.
You talked for an hour.
No. Then actually he left. He had come to visit, and then he left, and he was still a student doing his PhD, and he was supposed to finish his thesis and come back, and we were supposed to get married, and that was supposed to take 6 months, but it took a year. So
Mm-hmm.
it could go that way. So there was a whole year he was here, and so we did correspond by mail.
Mm-hmm.
No email.
No email back then.
No phone.
Snail mail?
Snail
Oh
mail.
my
Yeah,
goodness.
snail mail.
That would take a long time.
Yeah. So we did that. So I kind of knew a little bit, but I mean, you don't really know somebody until you live together. So, and then there was the cultural clash coming to America.
Where did you come in America? Where did you land?
Landed in New York, and then he lived in Maryland at the time.
Maryland, yeah.
Yeah, and then so that's where we lived for the first 18 months,
Mm-hmm.
and then he got the faculty position at UT, and we moved here to
You're
Austin.
still married
Hmm.
to him.
Yeah,
That was who I
50
met.
years.
That's who I met who dropped you off.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So it has been 50 years.
What's he teaching at UT?
He's retired now. He's a emeritus. He taught computer science.
Oh, computer science.
Yeah.
Y'all were married how long?
50.
50 years.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's an anomaly these days, isn't it?
Among Indians, maybe not.
The Indians don't get divorced.
In my generation, I mean, they do. It's increasing now. In my generation, it's not uncommon to be married a long time.
Yeah.
Our parents married for life, and his parents and my parents, and everybody I know pretty much in my family. So it doesn't occur to you to do otherwise.
Yeah.
You just treat it as a commitment, lifetime commitment, and you adjust.
Yeah. What were so one watershed moment for you, or one big transition or change in your life was coming to America and the cultural
So
clash?
the culture clash. So this was before television. Okay.
What year was this? This was
70. We got married in 72.
How old are you?
I was 22.
No, how old are you now?
I am
Is this a bad thing to ask a woman?
74.
Some people say you're not supposed to ask women their age.
It's okay.
You're 74.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so this was when you were 24.
Well, 50 years in Austin. I came to Austin in 74.
Mm-hmm.
So 50 years in
I was born in
Austin.
77. You moved here before I was born.
Yeah. Lived pretty much all my life in Austin. I've seen the city grow. Population was 250,000.
When you moved here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah. Austin ended. I mean, yeah, there was some South Austin on the other side of the river. It went somewhat, but on the north side, pretty much 183 was the limit. There was no 360.
Yeah.
There was no Mopac.
Yeah. That was a train
35,
track, right?
yeah, train track. Balcones Drive. And then the train, On the east, how far did it go on the east? Manor Road, maybe? I don't know.
What was the cultural clash for you? What was the main
So
challenge?
I loved it when I moved to Texas because the climate was more like India.
It's hot in India?
Oh boy, is it hot?
Hotter than Texas.
It's more humid.
Okay.
Yeah. It rains 60 inches a year, the part of India where I grew up. But all of that happens in 3 months. So we have the rainy season, the monsoons.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the year is pretty dry. But it's still pretty humid. So in Maryland, I mean the biggest problem was the winter.
It's
I
so
was
cold.
I was not used to cold. I'd never worn shoes in my life.
You've never worn shoes?
No,
Never.
no. You just wear slippers.
What did you wear? You wear slippers?
Yeah, just slippers. And if you run barefoot. I mean, now it has changed. People in those days didn't have that much money. That was not far after the independence. So my husband was born in 1947, the year just after independence
For India.
for India. India got independent from the British in 1947.
Okay.
2 months after that, my husband was born. I was born 3 years later. So the cultural surrounding, there was a lot of hope. Oh, we are independent. There was pride that we won independence without violence.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of Gandhian thoughts, a lot of patriotism in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of hope. And so I knew that, okay, my grandmother did not finish high school. I mean, she went only up to 5th grade. My mother finished high school. I would finish college. So, being a woman, that's a lot.
That was a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Did you finish college?
I did a master's.
You went further than finishing college.
Yeah.
You did college extra.
Yeah.
What'd you get your master's in?
Well, I have a master's in computer science from UT.
Okay.
And then I worked as a programmer. You said you were
I'm a software engineer. Yeah, I did that for 10 years or so.
I did that for 16 years.
Wow.
And then I quit.
Your husband probably helped you a little bit?
Um,
Because he was teaching computer science, right?
He was teaching computer science. I tried to avoid his class, but then he was teaching one core class I had to take. So I was in one of his classes. But then
He better not give you an F, that's for sure. Our dinner would be late.
So that's why I didn't want to take his
I
class.
know, I'm just joking. Yeah.
But I was always a good student.
Yeah.
Growing up, that was one of my values, to do your best. So that wasn't too much of a problem. But, just not knowing the culture, I didn't know. I couldn't speak English that well. I mean, I could, but I could write better than I could speak.
Yeah.
Read and write better than I could speak. I did not understand some of the American accents.
Mm.
So conversation was a little, I was conscious about that. I was conscious about, there were not very many Indians. I was conscious about.
In Texas, in Austin, Texas, you must have been a small.
But actually, I felt better coming to Texas because there were more brown-skinned people here.
Hispanic folks.
Yeah.
People from Mexico.
Yeah, and they were very friendly.
Yeah.
And they would talk to you in Spanish knowing that you don't understand.
But just because you're tan, they would think,
yeah,
I speak Spanish to tan folks.
Right. So the first day we moved to Austin, it was raining. And I felt so good. Oh, it's raining, just like home.
Mm-hmm.
And then, there are some people, these people look like us. And then, they come and they seem very friendly and slow going. easy going. Um, in Maryland, the winter was hard. I was dying to see snow. Never seen it in my life, but I didn't know how to walk in snow, so I fell quite a bit.
Yeah.
And, and I was driving a long distance. We lived in College Park. I went to school. We lived in Gaithersburg, and I went to college in College Park, Maryland,
Okay.
University of Maryland. So that was a long drive.
And it seems like there weren't tan folks there. There weren't people that looked like you. It was
There
mostly
weren't that many,
white
no.
folks.
It was mostly white folks. Um, they were much taller. So in India, I was a tall girl,
How
believe it
tall
or
were you?
not. I have shrunk a little bit. I think I was 5'4".
And that was tall.
That was tall. A
So
lot of
Indian people a little bit shorter?
they are taller now
They're taller now.
because food habits have changed, I think.
Ah,
People are eating better,
so they're growing taller.
growing taller, I guess. Um, so I was one of the tallest girls in my class
At 5'4".
at 5'4". And here, people just looked so big. I wasn't used to, I wasn't used to seeing winter leafless trees.
Oh yeah.
And that was very strange landing in New York in January and then being driven uh, on the highway and it's cold and I see the trees. I'm looking to nature for sympathy and I'm seeing like trees that look dead.
And you didn't have any shoes on? Oh my
I
goodness.
uh, I think we bought some shoes for me. We stopped for a day in Brussels on the way.
Okay.
So we bought a pair of shoes and a jacket.
Yeah, you're gonna need that.
Yeah, yeah. So I did have that when I landed in New York, but it was still cold. Uh, and then the cars were, I don't know if you have ever been to India. In India,
I've never been.
but you must have seen in television nowadays, Those days were pre-television days, so I had no idea what to expect. I had seen some picture postcards. My father came to um, America before I was born.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Cornell University. He had a PhD from there in education.
Yeah.
So anyway, I didn't know a lot of things. I didn't know anything really. Uh, how to talk, how to dress myself, and people stared at me a lot.
They did?
Yeah,
Did you experience
because
racism or anything like that? Anything negative?
I wouldn't say racism per se, um, but just the just people felt, they stared at you. You were weird. You were different.
Because you were different.
Yeah, the unfamiliarity.
Yeah, so they would look at
Yeah,
you
and
probably
people
with
were
some
nice too.
curiosity.
Yeah, curiosity. People were nice. People were friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, I think so. My children are darker skinned than me.
Mm-hmm.
My son, my older son, is quite dark, and I think he probably experienced growing up here more racism than I did,
Mm.
or at least racist or subtle racism, maybe
Microaggressions.
yeah, something like that, or just people making assumptions by your looks,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Some of that had happened to me too. For example, people will look at me and assume something. Maybe they have a image in their mind, perception again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm in some meeting and something would come up and I would provide my input. So the minute I open my mouth, they feel somewhat awed. Maybe they weren't expecting me to speak or to speak the way I spoke.
They expected you to have like a Hispanic accent?
I have no idea, but And somebody sometimes would say, so where did you learn your English? You know? So maybe they didn't expect me to speak English
Yeah.
without making errors.
Hmm.
Um, so there were, little things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't call them racism. It's just unfamiliarity.
Yeah.
I was unfamiliar. They were unfamiliar with my ways. After I didn't have any Western clothes, I was dressing in Indian clothes, so
Mhm.
that would attract.
Were those very different?
Yeah, I was wearing a sari,
Okay.
and very different. Um, the red dot.
You had the dot?
I don't wear it anymore, but you must have seen.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, so people were very curious about it,
Yeah.
and now they have the stick-ons. In those days, it was either a powder or a paste. And so I would have that and I would forget and I would go in the swimming pool. And then one time a child was worried, thinking that I was bleeding. You know,
Mhm.
there were little things like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you lived 50 years here in Austin, Texas.
right. Long time.
That is a long time.
Yeah.
That's longer than most. And you raised kids here.
I raised two boys.
2 boys.
Yeah. Yeah. My my son has a theory that women who have only boys become tougher, and men who have only girls mellow over the years.
I have 2 girls.
Have you mellowed over the years?
I think I'm mellowing. Well, my experience is I've got 2 girls. They're 12 and 16. They both have reached the age of menstruation. There can be a lot of emotions going around, and I have to hold through those,
Yeah.
stay grounded, and provide something for them to co-regulate too, as opposed to me. And historically, I've risen
Yeah.
to the frequency, the emotions that were present.
Yeah.
And it's just, it escalates when that happens. And then it gets a little out of control and overwhelming for everybody
Yeah.
when the parent is moving towards the emotional state of the kids.
Yeah.
So I've been practicing and I think getting better at holding and being calm through, all kind of wild throes of emotion,
Mm.
which I think could be considered mellowing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those girls have big, big emotions
Mm.
and they'll share them with me.
Mm. That's good. Yeah. So, so I mean, that's the thing, being an immigrant, raising kids in a different culture. So on one hand, you want to give them the best of both cultures,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't have anyone to help you. I mean, right now the population is large and but when I was raising children, there were very few Indians here. Of course, we didn't have any family. So I had to learn everything by the book, how to be a parent and and then I wasn't familiar with what kids, especially boys, go through in the American school system.
Mm.
Elementary school was very nice. The teachers were very nice and kind. Problems would start in middle school, high school, kind of.
Yeah.
And then, uh, raising boys isn't easy. They can go out, not come back in time. And then we had fights. I called them rules, and my son called it curfew. And I said, no, it's just a rule, and we all follow it. I'm not asking you to follow any rule I don't follow myself.
Yeah. But he probably wanted to stay out with his friends late or.
Yeah, and it just got, the times change. So I have a lot of years between my children, and then the uh, my older one thinks that his brother is of a different culture because of the age difference of
Mm.
a different generation.
Yeah.
Things had changed so much, and my older son didn't have a cell phone. They were not there, not that common.
Yeah.
And my younger one has a phone, and he wouldn't even tell me where he's going. So you can reach me by my phone. Okay.
It's a new day.
And then now it's a whole different ball game with social media and all that.
Yeah.
It's hard
It
raising
is hard.
children in this age, I think. So anyway, so I just learned and did my best.
Do your kids speak the language, the native? What is the language that you spoke
So
in
the
in
language is
India?
called Odia.
Oria.
Yeah.
Do they speak Oria?
They understand. My older one understands more. He speaks it when he visits India and he's left with people who don't speak English
Mm-hmm.
and he's forced to, then he would do it.
When he's got to find the bathroom.
Right. And then I have heard from other people that he speaks okay,
Yeah.
but he wouldn't speak with me. I have done things in life I never thought I could do. Like when I quit working because I wanted to be a stay-home mom. That's
Mm-hmm.
why I quit. And but then other things just happened,
Yeah.
and I ended up developing an organization in Austin that helps battered women.
Really? What's it called?
Now it's called AFSA, Asian Family Support Services of Austin,
To help battered women.
who are from different Asian countries,
Okay.
who don't go to the the mainstream organizations to
Mm-hmm.
get help
Yeah.
because they feel that they won't be understood culturally.
Yeah.
So this organization was forming when I had just quit my job. And so I was trying to find something to do because I had never stayed home. So when my children were in school, I wanted to find something to do.
Yeah.
So then I heard about Safe, what is called Safe now. It used to be called Center for Battered Women at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I started volunteering there, and then this group was also forming. So I was kind of volunteered in both places. Then we started getting phone calls. We had our hotline. And then immigrants had so many different problems that citizens don't have because if they're, so in those days, in 1994, the Violence Against Women Act passed for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped immigrants to be able to stay, immigrant battered women get um, a visa status to stay in the US. Before that, your husband kicks you out of the house, you are kicked out of the country,
Oh my goodness.
and you have no way to stay here
And
because
your family could be here, your kids.
you may have kids. He may keep your kids because they are
Yeah.
citizens.
Yeah.
So there are so many problems that didn't, nobody knew about it. And so I got very interested in the legal aspects of this,
Mm-hmm.
being an immigrant. So I did a lot of legal advocacy work
Mm-hmm.
in the Safe Place. So it used to be called Center for Battered Women, then Safe Place, and now it's called Safe, just Safe Alliance, I think. So I started working, and I was looking for daytime work. So I went to middle schools, high schools, did a presentation called Teen Dating Violence Prevention.
Mm.
That was Safe Places signature program. They had developed it here in Austin. There weren't that many programs all over the nations like that before. Austin was quite first there. And then, and I did legal advocacy. I went to the courthouse with the women to be with them
Mm-hmm.
when they go through hearings for protective order, divorce. And then, being an immigrant, I would take them to the immigration office in San Antonio to get their visa status changed, do all the applications for applying under this new law. So in 1995, so we were getting clients before the regulations had not had were even being written. The law passed, regulations were still being written.
Yeah.
I went to the same classes to learn about it that the lawyers were going through. I was the only non-lawyer in the class.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I got interested in those things, and I had never thought I could even think about doing anything like that.
And you were helping people.
I was helping people. But one of the, how one thing relates to the other and how things relate to spirituality. I was interested in the Vedantic tradition that I come from and the teachings, what is there in the Upanishads. So any of those teachers would come, I would go to those talks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was learning, how to live myself, work and raise children, and then also how to help people who have nobody to help them.
Yeah.
And but what I was noticing is that even after you come out of the crisis situation and you sort of are better,
Mm-hmm.
abuse free, um, the trauma of the abuse stays with you.
Yeah. PTSD or complex PTSD.
And also the inability to trust people.
Yeah. Changes your view of the
If
world.
Exactly. If somebody who you trusted abuses you, even when you are an adult, I mean, for children, it's even harder,
Yeah.
but even as an adult. So, all those things I had noticed, that I didn't have all the skills to help the people, that there needs to be more. There needs to be more that combines the whole person. Not, I mean, we were providing the necessary survival skills to people. We were helping them how to navigate the systems. But after that, how to take care of the residues that are left with you,
The mental, the psychological.
all that, even after you go through your groups and all that,
Mm-hmm.
People had also said that I had noticed that people who have faith of some sort or some spiritual life, in addition to their whatever, uh, they seemed more at peace.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it was, a search to help myself, to help family, also to help community, and at different levels.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, I noticed that, okay, I got the organization to this level. We were an all volunteer organization for 12 years.
Wow.
So finally, we had money to hire our first executive director. And I said, okay, now she can take over. I could do only this much.
Yeah.
And now it's all yours. So I got out of there. And so I call myself twice retired.
Yeah.
16 years in software, 12 years in, I don't know what you call it. I call myself a community volunteer.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking of ways that would take me to my old age,
Mm-hmm.
and
Ways to contribute and give
ways
back to the world.
contribute in a different way,
But help
not
people.
not so much go-getting,
Yeah.
more in a relaxed way,
Right.
something I can age with,
Mm-hmm.
something that would help me as well as others.
Yeah.
And then so I had tried doing things. I was teaching meditation. I learned it from a Hindu monk, and I was doing a weekend retreat teaching meditation. But then, and after that, I came to find MBSR.
Mm.
And I said, that's what I want,
Yeah.
because that opens up more doors.
Yeah.
It's secular.
Secular. It combines the wisdom of the East with the science
of the
and the
West.
backing of the West. That
And the
complementary,
methods. And the complementary.
the methods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, long story.
Oh my goodness. I'm so grateful that you share it with me. It's such a
Well,
wonderful life of
it's
helping people
it's a learning.
and
I mean,
learning.
yeah, it's a learning. I mean, I learn from everyone I help.
Yeah.
I learn from everyone. And that's also part of the culture. I mean, I think we have all kinds of stories in India. Somebody asked, who is your teacher? And he named like 15 things. Some of them were, animals and, inanimate objects. And,
Yeah.
so, you can learn from anybody and everybody and just keep your doors open
Yeah.
and mind open.
Mind open. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to share before we start to wrap up?
I think I have shared more than you wanted to know.
No, I think it's been wonderful. I was glad to hear all of that.
So I don't know. I'm worried about, you know, it seems like we're talking naturally, but sometimes I forget that, oh, you're recording me.
Yeah, we're recorded. I don't think you've said anything that
That's okay.
anybody would have a challenge with, or that you would feel bad about sharing, I don't think.
It's okay.
I hope.
It's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I've never done that, I don't think. I don't know.
you've never done this.
Um, I have given interviews with my other work with the
With the
lives.
helping folks?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But, not my life story.
Not your life. Well, I really love hearing people's life stories.
Okay.
I love knowing my fellow man, my fellow woman, what their life was like. It helps me kind of, I don't know, understand more. There's so many different people out there and so many different ways that they come into being who they are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, life is about learning.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah.
And a teacher is always a student.
Yeah.
That's my last sentence, I guess.
Yeah. Teacher is always a student.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Well, this has been Phil Phails at Stress. My guest is, let me get your information here.
Mamata.
Mamata, yeah, Misra. And she is a certified MBSR teacher. Phil Phails at Stress. And it's been a pleasure, Mamata, to share this time with you and to hear your story and to learn about MBSR and stress and mindfulness. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You want to wave bye to everybody? Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it.